Title: What This Dog Did at His Partner's Funeral. Left everyone frozen. They only opened the coffin because a dog barked, but what they discovered inside will leave you absolutely speechless. It was a gloomy, rainy afternoon, the kind where the sky feels just as heavy as your heart. Detective Lucas Morgan's funeral was underway. The drizzle soaked through clothes, but it was nothing compared to the sorrow soaking through the souls of everyone who had come to say goodbye. Officers, friends, family, all stood silent, cloaked in grief and disbelief. And sitting right there, right beside the casket, was Shadow, Lucas's fiercely loyal K-9 partner. A black German shepherd with a soul so deep, his eyes told stories words never could. Shadow wasn't just a dog. He was a warrior, a protector, a best friend. He had been with Lucas through countless missions, always alert, always brave. And now he sat still. Too still. His ears twitched every now and then, as if he could hear something no one else could. Lucas had been a shining star in the department, a cop with sharp instincts and a heart that beat only for justice. But all of that came crashing down in a fiery shootout with a notorious gang. He didn't survive, or so everyone believed. Shadow had also been caught in the chaos that day, badly wounded. But miraculously, he pulled through. And today, he was here to say his final goodbye to his human, his partner, his brother. As the priest delivered heartfelt words about bravery, duty, and sacrifice, the air was thick with sorrow. Until a bark. A sharp, sudden bark shattered the silence, like glass. All eyes turned. Shadow had jumped to his feet, for standing on end, letting out a low, haunting growl. His gaze locked on the coffin. Another bark, louder this time, more urgent. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The mourners whispered nervously. This wasn't just any bark. This was desperation. Whoa. Easy boy, whispered an officer, gently reaching for Shadow's collar, trying to soothe him. But Shadow wasn't having it. He yanked himself free with startling strength, bolting toward the casket, pawing at it like his life depended on it. Get that dog under control, barked the police chief, his face hardening with confusion. This is a funeral, not a circus. But Shadow kept going, barking, whining, scratching furiously at the polished wood like he was trying to dig into it. Lucas's mother, Evelyn, gasped. Her hand flew to her chest. What's happening to him? She stammered, voice trembling. Sergeant Daniels exchanged glances with the others, a creeping dread settling in. I don't know, but I've never seen Shadow like this. Ever. The murmuring crowd was now frozen in a stunned hush. Then a voice broke through. Strong. Steady. It was Lucas's brother, David. Open it. The chief spun toward him. David, I understand you're grieving, but this. I said open it. David cut him off, his voice steady but fierce. Something is wrong. Can't you feel it? The moment held its breath. Finally, the chief sighed, shoulders heavy, and gave a reluctant nod. Do it. But brace yourselves. The wounds were severe. 2 officers moved forward, their hands trembling as they lifted the lid. Gasps. Screams. Silence. Then chaos. Evelyn collapsed back, screaming in horror. Officers drew weapons instinctively. Everyone stood frozen in disbelief. The man inside that coffin wasn't Lucas Morgan. Shadow? He sat down quietly, tail wagging, calm at last, as if to say, told you. The entire ceremony unraveled in a blink. Orders were shouted. Radios buzzed with emergency codes. The investigation began immediately. What followed was a flood of truth no one saw coming. On the night of the shootout, 2 officers had been brought to the hospital, both gravely wounded. One died. The other slipped into a coma. But in the frantic confusion, their identities were switched. The hospital staff, overworked, overwhelmed, had made a critical mistake. Lucas was alive. It was Officer Dean Hall who had died that night. And without knowing, they had placed him in Lucas's coffin. Lucas had been fighting for his life this entire time, hooked up to machines, in a deep, medically induced coma, alone, unaware that the world had already mourned him. When officers stormed the hospital to verify, they found him still alive, battered, broken, but breathing. The shock hit the department like a tidal wave. How had no one double-checked the bodies? How could such a catastrophic failure slip through the cracks? But through all the confusion and blame, one thing was clear. Shadow knew. 2 weeks passed. And then a miracle. Lucas opened his eyes. His first words? They weren't about the pain or the fear. They were about Shadow. He wept when he learned what happened. About Officer Hall. About the funeral. About the unbelievable mistake. And he was overwhelmed with gratitude for the four-legged hero who refused to give up on him. Months went by. Lucas endured grueling rehab. But when he could finally stand again, he didn't go to a press conference. He didn't run to give interviews. He went straight to Shadow. He dropped his knees, hugged him tight, and whispered something that only the two of them could ever understand. Shadow just wagged his tail, like he'd always known this day would come. Lucas eventually returned to the force. And this time that bond with Shadow? It was unbreakable. Sacred. The department rewrote their protocols, doubled down on identification procedures, and the hospital was held accountable. But through all the reform, one truth echoed loudest. Sometimes it's not logic, not science, not evidence. Sometimes it's love. It's loyalty. It's instinct. And that instinct saved a life. So next time someone tells you it's just a dog, you tell them this story. If this moved you, if your heart raced or your eyes watered, show your support. Like this video. Subscribe to our channel for more real, raw, and unbelievable stories. And in the comments, tell us, do you believe dogs have a sixth sense? Have you ever experienced something like this? We'd love to hear your story. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, the bravest souls don't always wear badges. Some just walk beside us, on 4 paws.